Dear secondary school teachers, I'm honored to be invited to present my findings of how we as teachers can transition our students from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset and what the impact is of a growth mindset on the social brain. My name is Gert Faber and I'm a pre-service secondary teacher from Cairns, Far North Queensland. The structure of my presentation is the following. First, I will discuss what the differences are between a fixed and a growth mindset. Then I will discuss how we can transition from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And finally, I will present what the impact is from a growth mindset on the social brain. Back in 2006, Carol Dweck published a book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. In this book, Dweck explained that there are two types of mindset. A fixed mindset at the one end and at the other end a growth mindset. Dweck states, in a fixed mindset, students believe their basic abilities, their intelligence, their talents are just fixed traits. They have a certain amount and that's what it is, and their goal becomes to look smart all the time and never look dumb. In a growth mindset, students understand that their talents and abilities can be developed through effort, good teaching and persistence. They believe everyone can get smarter if they work at it. Intelligence can be developed. Generally speaking, about 40% of the people have a fixed mindset, 40% have a growth mindset, and the remaining 20% are in the middle. But it's not like when you have a fixed mindset you can't change to a growth mindset, or the other way around. Dweck illustrates the traits of both mindsets using this graphical overview. A fixed mindset leads to a desire to look smart and therefore a tendency to avoid challenges, give up easily and see effort as fruitless or worse, ignore useful negative feedback and feel threatened by the success of others. A growth mindset embraces challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, learn from criticism and find lessons and inspirations in the success of others. A growth mindset sets students up to achieve their potential. But what to do if students have a fixed mindset? How can we stimulate them to move from a fixed to a growth mindset? First, obvious perhaps, but very important, expose students to neuroscience evidence about the malleability of the brain. Explain how the brain works, show the evidence. Don't tell them they have to adopt this mindset because that will not work. Students need to understand, for instance, why effort is the way to success or why a growth mindset will increase their intelligence. Secondly, how we as teachers interact with students on a daily basis. We also have to adopt a growth mindset and stimulate this by how we, for instance, provide feedback. Feedback is essential. Praise students for their progress in relation to their effort. For instance, I like the way you solved the problem by trying various methods instead of saying you are very smart. Create space for new ideas. Trying new things is fundamental to a growth mindset. Therefore, create time and opportunities for students to come up and discuss new ideas. It's worth the time. Effort. Effort is seen in the growth mindset as the path to mastery, but effort just by itself is not good enough. Effort means that students work hard and find ways to accomplish their learning task. Effort is the vehicle to reach the goal of learning and improving. It's good to praise students who work hard, but be mindful it's actually not good when they are not learning. Follow through. Endorsing a growth mindset is good, but just as important is following up and actually practicing what you've said. It doesn't come by itself just by preaching it. You have to put the hard work in to make it work. For instance, create policies, implement and monitor them, encourage risk-taking, or let's review how teachers stimulate students in their learning and themselves with regards to teaching using a growth mindset. Fixed mindset triggers. We all have a mixture of fixed and growth mindsets, but when you face challenges, be aware of your fixed mindset triggers. For instance, you become defensive or you feel incompetent. Don't ban those reactions, but be aware and work through them, and then you can start the growth mindset journey. What's the influence of a growth mindset on the social brain? First of all, we can grow our brain by making mistakes. Making mistakes plays an important role in the growth mindset to increase learning. A fixed mindset wants to avoid making mistakes. So what do we mean with growing the brain? Growing means increased connectivity, not an increase in volume. Connectivity can be increased if new pathways are being formed, pathways are strengthened, or pathways can connect in the brain. Most have found that there are two reactions in the brain when people make mistakes, an ERN response and a PE response. An error-related negativity, ERN response, is an increased electrical activity that's believed to happen when the brain experiences a conflict between a correct response and an error. The second response, an error-related positivity, follows the ERN and is called PE, which is a brain signal toward to reflect conscious attention to mistakes. The area in the brain involved with an error monitoring is called dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Making mistakes helps the brain to grow. In a classroom setting, for instance, a positive attitude towards making mistakes will help students grow their brain. Can your brain grow indefinitely by putting in more effort of mistakes? The answer is no. There's at some stage a capacity limit a student can do before their output begins to plateau or even decrease. Attention to error. A higher PE as element of a growth mindset indicates a higher attention to mistakes and a higher post-error accuracy. Moderation analysis has revealed that a growth mindset increased post-error accuracy for children who did not attend to their errors. Dopamine functions as a neurotransmitter which is generally known for its feel-good or give-me-more feeling as well as motivation and satisfaction. If dopamine is blocked, it will reduce, for instance, your motivation. Opiates are also a feel-good chemical, so you can still feel good if the dopamine levels are low. Research has shown that dopamine is also linked to learning and memory. The area in the brain called anterior cingulate cortex is involved with learning. When dopamine is released, it sends a signal to the brain. Time to start learning! It increases the ability to learn. But how can you increase the dopamine levels in teaching? Novelty and curiosity are the triggers for this. These ingredients are important elements of the growth mindset. Build the elements of novelty and curiosity into your teaching. Motivation. Results from a study demonstrates that there was no statistical significant relationship between mindset gains and academic gains. On the other hand, there was a strong, positive statistical significant relationship between mindset gains and motivation gains. The linking factor, therefore, between a growth mindset and higher academic achievement could be motivation. A growth mindset has a positive impact on motivation. Motivation can be considered as a possible predictor of how well a student will perform. When we talk motivation, we mean intrinsic motivation. Students who are intrigued by the process, unlike extrinsic motivation which focuses on the result. Self-efficacy refers to an individual's belief in their ability to complete a task, make changes or achieve a goal. It's also a great predictor of motivation and achievement in education. A growth mindset is associated with a higher self-efficacy. Students with a high self-efficacy show less cognitive load when faced with a challenge. Challenging tasks for lower self-efficacy students express itself in experiences of a higher cognitive load and they can feel an overwhelming amount of pressure. Social economic status. Research conducted in Chile indicates that there is a relationship between social economic status and mindset. They have found that students with a lower SES were less likely to hold a growth mindset than students with a high SES. However, students with a lower SES but with a growth mindset were better shielded against the harmful effects of poverty on achievement. The changes to the brain with a growth mindset can best be illustrated with these pictures. As you can see, the activity expressed in voltage in the brain with a growth mindset is significantly higher than in a fixed mindset. The growth mindset brain is on fire. There's more intensity and attention to error. It's working on new ideas, strategies and increased learning. Thank you for your time and listening to me. It was an honor to present my findings of how we as teachers can implement a growth mindset and what the impact is of a growth mindset on the social brain to you today. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me.